You're joining us on NewsX's special coverage of Union Budget 2024. We got to you, of course, several newsmakers through the day yesterday, from union ministers to opposition members of parliament and senior industry voices. We're going to continue that today as well. 2024 Union Budget, of course, getting reactions from across the spectrum. In fact, one of those reactions was from the founder of BharatPe and a very well-known voice, Ashneer Grover. He had termed the budget as boring, lifeless and meaningless, arguing that it lacked impact and wasn't worth anyone's attention. Well, today, in fact, Ashneer Grover is joining us live on the broadcast. Ashneer, welcome to NewsX. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
What is your take on the budget? Of course, I did read out a certain excerpt of what you said yesterday, but tell us a bit more about what you felt about the budget 2024 and the highlights and what stood out for you and what didn't.
Yeah, so see, this budget 2024 was the first budget of the new government, right? So it's the first out of the 5 years. And what your expectation is that you will take some strong decisions in the first one, because that gives you the political leeway in some sense, that you have 4 other years to sort of correct any backlash. In that context, everyone's expectation was that this budget should be fundamentally different. There should be something really drastic in it. And we definitely need something drastic, because this 6 to 7% growth rate is a given, right? Even if, and I keep telling people, if the budget was not announced this year, India would still grow at 7%. You cannot stop it. So the budget has to amplify things. It has to take things from the 7% to a 12%, 15% growth rate. And that's where I felt it lacked any spine or any juice at all. There's nothing in the budget which is sort of propelling us as a country from a 7% GDP, which we can achieve without any budget being announced, to an actual 12-15% GDP growth, where India would go into a different trajectory like China did a few decades back.
Yes, you are, of course, known for your plain speaking on the shows you've been part of, so I appreciate your candor. But tell us then, Ashneer, what according to you was missing in the budget? What were you looking for that wasn't there yesterday?
See, for me, the fundamental disconnect with the way the government is going about is taxing more, borrowing more, and spending more at the government level. I think you need to leave more money with the private individuals. You need to leave more money with the businesses and let them use that money either for consumption or for investment. The private enterprise is the one who's creating jobs. So if they have more cash with them, they have more investable surplus, they are going to create more jobs. Anything which the government is taxing, they're not able to convert into more jobs at all. So I fundamentally was looking for a regime change in taxation. I would have loved if the finance minister had come out and said that instead of all these tax rates, we're going to have a single tax rate, 20%. Anyone who above 10 lakh pays 20% tax. All corporates pay 20% tax, right? They tried to simplify the capital gain, but it could have it could have been done even better if you said no long term, no short term, no listed, unlisted, one single capital gain tax rate of 10%. Mm-hmm. The biggest thing, which is GST, right? That's your, tax which is on everything, all services, all products. There's not even a mention of anything on GST or rationalization on GST, right? You should have gone for a single GST rate pan-India of 5%. And see, these are not necessarily things you're giving to the public. These are impediments to economic activity. And the moment a private enterprise gets lower tax rates, the economic activity picks up and covers up any tax loss. So that's what I was actually looking for.
Yes. Okay. Those of course, are the corporate tax rates that you refer to. What about individual tax rates? There was, of course, a change in the standard deduction limit, also a tweaking of the tax slabs overall. Do you believe those are steps in the right direction, or was more needed for India's middle class?
No, absolutely not. The Indian middle class just needs one tax rate that they know they're going to pay, right? All these slabs are good for 5th class mathematical problems and just to jog up your maths. But if you tell anyone any penny you earn above 10 lakhs, right? Doesn't matter who is earning it. You pay a 20% tax rate. Everyone is absolutely clear how much they're going to take home, how much they can spend, how much they can afford. All these slabs are unnecessary. You just need it so that the CAs can bill you because it seems complicated to file an income tax return. But otherwise, you don't need these slabs. They are not serving any purpose.
Okay, so an overhaul, complete overhaul is needed according to you. Also, another big announcement yesterday for the youth was the internship program. And more emphasis on, of course, skilling our youngsters. How crucial is that, making India's youth more skilled? And do you believe this internship program yesterday and also incentives to hire first-time employees for employers is a step in that direction announced by the budget yesterday?
Yeah, I think internship program is a good one because even when we hire people from college, what we find is what we are getting as ready products is not what we can use in the industry. So if there is a interaction with the industry beforehand, before the person graduates from college, it's always going to be good. So that I think is commendable. But again, there's nothing in the budget which I see will create crores of jobs, which is what we need, right? And I think there has to be enough incentive for private enterprise to grow. And private enterprise is the only one who can create jobs. So that fundamentally the government has to get in its head.
Yes. Also, as you're saying, there needed to have been more done for job creation. Employment is an issue. And we certainly need more jobs, of course, being created at a very, very swift pace for India's unemployed and also for the youth of our country. Do you believe the budget has done that? And if not, what is further needed to be done to fill this, employment gap, Ashneer?
No, I don't think there is anything specific about any job creation in the budget. At least I haven't been able to find it.
Well, they're hoping, the increase in capex, for instance, and other such moves will lead to more jobs.
That's the whole problem, right? That's what I'm saying. As a government, you've been increasing capex. You've been doing capex for the last 10 years. You've been delivering 7% growth rate. Your job growth would be lesser than that, right? So till the time you understand that the government spending is not driving the economy and therefore is not driving job growth, you will keep making the same mistake and nothing is going to happen out of it. I would rather say don't tax people, let them invest where they want to invest. Private enterprise can create 10x more jobs than any government can create. Yes. Penny to penny.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of youth is also going to be watching you today. Just tell us, as an employer yourself, what kind of skill sets, you look for in a young individual?
Yeah. So see, here's the thing. I think you have to be very good in whichever stream you have taken up, right? So if you're in computer sciences, you need to be very good in that. In electronics, you need to be very good at that. And I think, we also are looking for general smarts, right? Your ability to learn and unlearn. We don't want theoretically 95%, scholars in the industry. But we are happy with the 85% guy, who's smart about learning new things and understand how the world works. So I generally just tell people your general smarts are going to trump, that additional percentage points or 99% in your course.
Mm-hmm. Now, the capital gains tax announcement yesterday did spook the market. It did kind of recover. But what did you make of the market's reaction to the budget yesterday and also this decision on capital gains tax? Is it a far-sighted one or did it not make sense to you?
See, if you have to look at from what regime to what regime have we gone? We have gone from a 10% short-term capital gain, 0% long-term capital gain, 0% dividend distribution tax, to a 20% short-term capital gain, 12.5% long-term, and a 10% dividend distribution tax. So, see, here's the thing. A person creates capital after paying tax. He's putting that capital to work. Now, if that capital is earning something, you're again taxing that, right? Places like Singapore don't have capital gains tax, right? And that attracts a lot of people who want to deploy capital to work out of Singapore. So, as far as capital gains and all these things are concerned, you can keep increasing the tax rates. You're just helping the Dubai economy. People who want their money to work hard will go and settle abroad in a favorable tax regime and deploy money in favorable tax regimes rather than being residents of India. So I think uh, there has to be a relook, right? This whole concept of कहीं से ₹1 और निकाल लो यार इनसे, that has to go as a mindset.
Now, how do we also ensure, you worked because extensively with startups. Of course, you've been an entrepreneur yourself. You've also, of course, judged them on shows like Shark Tank India. How do we ensure that this startup boom, of course, continues? As Prime Minister also himself has said, become job creators, not just job takers. The angel tax decision yesterday, do you believe that's a step in the right direction?
Yeah, absolutely. See, angel tax was a bad tax in the first place. It should have gone many years ago. Not that it was troubling us that much, but now that it's gone, it's a great thing. I mean, it should not have been there in the first place. So you've just removed what was bad. So I don't think there needs more kudos than that. See, I think for the startups, it's going to be simply availability of capital. If we are going to be dependent on US capital, and if the US goes through a down cycle, in India we go through a down cycle. So we don't have a domestic pool of capital available. So if the government had done something like, if you invest in startup, you get the capital gain set off, like you do in the case of real estate. I think that would have created a separate pool of domestic capital for the startups and would have been positive for it. But that's not in the budget. So I think that's one thing the government should look at. That similar to reinvesting in real estate, you save capital gains tax. Can capital gains tax set off be available by people investing in registered startups?
Yes. What about the MSME sector? Have we done enough for the MSME sector?
No, yeah, that's not my area of expertise.
Okay. Because the MSME sector is an important one, do you believe we should be concentrating on that sector as well? Again, in light of jobs, Ashneer?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. See, I think, I don't want to create those different buckets, right?
Yeah.
I think my simple point again and again, I'm at the expense of repeating myself. Bring tax reforms, right? People don't even need differentiations. They don't need any special incentives, nothing, right? You do make taxes better. That's incentive enough for people to run around and make the economy grow.
Yeah. Okay. So bite the bullet. Bring in tax reforms is, of course, your mantra, as you're telling us. Just speaking very quickly now about a statement of yours. Now, you went viral for saying that Gen Z lives in a bubble, and you've also been criticized for that statement. You were trolled for it as well. What did you mean by saying that, Ashneer?
No, I see. It was said in a context of a question that was asked, right? My belief is that in the urban youth, people who are going to private schools and private colleges, somewhere they have a very shielded life. They live in their condos, gated communities. They just go out with their drivers. They actually don't know how things work on the street. And then they straight away go to colleges and for post graduation. And when they come out, is the first time they realize how different the world is and how different they have been brought up. So it was said in that context. I think anyone reading anything else is fine with me. Trolling is perfectly fine. But yeah, that's what I feel, that somewhere we are over shielding our children and making them grow like in a developed economy, whereas the reality on ground is very different.
Yes. Okay. Also, since you've been part of, the UPI boom, of course, and the payments interface boom in the country with your product, I have to ask you this question. We have seen now UPI accepted by a few countries abroad, but there is a lot of scope. Do you believe that's something that we need to continue to work in as we talk about this program of Make in India and, Atmanirbharta, and also the world, exporting from India rather than us just importing? Do you believe the UPI also is something that we need to work on to spreading it as far and wide as we can?
Yeah, absolutely. See, UPI is an amazing product, right? I think it's the best contribution of India as a technology product to the world. Having said that, we don't need to focus on UPI being accepted at Eiffel Tower. That's not a market. That's like just news. It creates news. It's not a use case at mass level. I think where UPI needs to go is UPI should be opened up for businesses. Right now, it's opened up for savings account. It needs to be opened up for current account. The limits need to go up, and you need to build many more capabilities, right? Through a single UPI thing, one should be able to put a loan debit across their bank accounts, right? So there's so much more that can be done and needs to be done in India. I think all these things of UPI is India's contribution to the world. It's not going to work, right? They have a card economy which is pretty dominant. We need to focus on where it is working, which is in our country itself.
Okay. Well, that's an important point raised by you, of course, Ashneer, and we appreciate your candor as always. For the time being, my thanks to you for joining us today on NewsX with your perspective on the Union Budget 2024. Thanks indeed for joining us with your perspective.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.